Hi! Capitalism isn't broken. We're just misunderstanding it. Okay, you ready? This is the first article in my capitalism series, a topic that deeply matters to me. When I dig into why the world feels so divided, why there's so much disagreement, and yes, even hate, I often land on capitalism. That's because capitalism, for many, is an uncomfortable term loaded with baggage. Surveys indicate that about half the population associates the word with negative connotations. In my opinion, that is a real problem. Why? Well, first off, I'm a capitalist. But I'm not here to blindly argue that it's the best system without first deeply understanding it and exploring how it can be improved. So let's start with what capitalism actually represents. To me, classic liberalism. Most people I know support things like freedom of speech, the rule of law, and individual rights. At its core, capitalism relies on private property rights, free markets, the profit motive, and a limited but effective government role. This structure provides incentives for innovation, productivity, and voluntary exchange, creating a powerful engine for economic and societal progress. As the Nobel Prize-winning economist Milton Friedman explained, there are 4 ways to spend money. You can spend your own money on yourself, your own money on someone else's money on yourself, or someone else's money on someone else. Why does this matter? Because only in the first case are you truly motivated to get the best value for every dollar. Your interests and your incentives are perfectly aligned. The further we move away from this direct connection, the more likely we are to see waste, inefficiency, or poor decision-making. It's a powerful way to understand why capitalism allocates resources so effectively, and why systems that separate incentives from outcomes tend to struggle. Economies function best when real people making their own choices have skin in the game. That's why, in practice, private spending tends to lead to better results than decisions made by distant institutions where incentives are misaligned, and why systems designed without this reality in mind often sound good on paper but don't work as intended. My friend Daniel Tierney, founder of Wicklow Capital and a constant source of inspiration in life and for this series, puts it well, quote, "You can't break the laws of economic gravity any more than you can break the laws of physics," end of quote. Yet in today's debates, these basic principles are often overshadowed by a new storyline, one that frames nearly every issue as a question of power, not incentives, personal responsibility, or outcomes. The narrative has shifted. It's no longer capitalism versus communism, but oppressed versus oppressor. Power has become the central lens: who has it, who doesn't, and how it should be redistributed. While imbalances exist and matter, reducing everything to a question of power misses the point. The real goal is to make life better for people. This instinct to focus on power, however, is understandable. It's just that the idea that progress can be engineered from above by those far removed from consequences is dead wrong. Time and again, history shows that when we prioritize who gets to allocate resources rather than how resources are best allocated, we end up producing worse outcomes, no matter how well intentioned. In contrast, the explosion of free markets over recent decades has led to remarkable progress, surpassing even the wildest expectations of capitalism's harshest critics. If you doubt this, consider my late friend Hans Rosling's great book, Factfulness, Steven Pinker's Enlightenment Now, or Johan Norberg's The Capitalist Manifesto. The evidence is undeniable. I experienced capitalism's flexibility and potential for positive change firsthand when I joined McDonald's in Sweden. Many assume that a company like McDonald's is the epitome of corporate capitalism, and that it was incapable of, or even disinterested in, leading positive and meaningful change. But that wasn't my experience. We didn't have to abandon the profit motive to make a difference. We had to align it with a larger purpose. I worked with visionary leaders like Dr. Karl-Henrik Robert, Paul Hawken, and Kai Pollak in Sweden, and later with pioneering doctors in the US, like Dr. Dean Ornish and Dr. Temple Grandin, to mention a few. These and many other collaborations helped me see firsthand that capitalism isn't a rigid ideology, it's a flexible tool whose outcomes depend entirely on how we choose to use it. Two things can be true simultaneously. Capitalism and the free market system are our friends, not our enemies, and capitalism is far from perfect. Yet, as I'll demonstrate in this series, this system has self-correcting mechanisms. Prices communicate vital information, competition ensures quality and innovation, and profit loss signals drive resources towards their most effective uses. If we allow these mechanisms to work as intended, instead of getting in their way, we'd see much better outcomes. Capitalism is adaptable because it aligns closely with human nature, with our desire for autonomy, our responsiveness to incentives, and our natural inclination to cooperate voluntarily. Because of this, capitalism can effectively evolve to meet emerging societal needs. Often, the solution is staring us in the face, but we just don't see it. The loudest critics of capitalism aren't actually against capitalism itself. They're opposed to cronyism, corporate greed, and monopolistic control. Issues that aren't inherent to capitalism, but distortions of it. Instead of addressing these distortions, critics mistakenly blame capitalism as a whole. That's like throwing out the baby with the bathwater. I call this system confusion, and it leads to misdiagnosed problems and ineffective solutions. This confusion is amplified by language. Terms like liberal and free market have become so politicized that they've lost their true meaning. Classic liberalism, championed by thinkers like Adam Smith and John Stuart Mill, stands for private enterprise, meritocracy, and free speech. Today, capitalism comes with so much ideological baggage that it's difficult to even talk about improving it. Instead, many people feel tempted to discard it altogether. But there is another reason we're struggling to make sense of capitalism challenges and possibilities. Quite simply, we are not living in the same world for which our old systems were designed. Technology has fundamentally changed the landscape, accelerating the pace of change and multiplying complexity beyond what anyone could have imagined a generation ago. Again, back to my friend Daniel, he puts it like this, and I quote, "It is as if we've left Earth and landed on a new planet, a world shaped by the digital age, where the rules of gravity, weather, and survival are entirely different. Our institutions, both economic and political, were built for the industrial age, but the world has moved on. Capitalism 2.0 may have worked on the old planet, but it's not fully equipped for the exponential speed, interconnectedness, and complexity we face now. On this new planet, change happens at an exponential rate, not a linear one, and the degree of complexity is vastly greater. That means our systems, if they're going to survive, must be thoughtfully decentralized and radically adaptive." End of quote. If we want capitalism to continue delivering progress, it needs an upgrade, a version built for this new environment, what Dan calls Capitalism 3.0. This does not mean abandoning core principles, but it does mean rethinking how we adapt them for a radically different era. Adaptation isn't just an option, it's a necessity. That's the deeper work of this series. In order to not exhaust you, I've broken this argument into 8 pieces and exploring each a specific theme. This first one, Capitalism Isn't broken, It's about introducing the series and clarifying misconceptions about capitalism. The second piece is about creative destruction, why capitalism wins, explaining capitalism's essential dynamic of innovation and renewal. The third one is about setting capitalism free, why guardrails beat handcuffs. And 4 is about innovation versus regulation, finding the right balance. 5 is about market-driven, why capitalism succeeds where government falls short. And 6 is about the dangerous myth about capitalism, addressing the false narrative that profit and virtue are incompatible. And 7 is capitalism's next crisis, why Gen Z is losing faith and how to win it back. And 8, Capitalism 3.0, building a system for the world we actually live in. My goal with this is to challenge misconceptions, unpack complexities, and demonstrate capitalism's potential as a force for innovation, fairness, and long-term prosperity. Human progress is impossible without capitalism. Our history is paved with attempts of centralized control, inevitably leading to murderous regimes and the loss of freedoms we hold dear. Whether you're a staunch defender of free enterprise or skeptical of the system, I invite you to engage, debate, and question. How can we harness capitalism's power to solve the very problems it's blamed for causing and build a version that genuinely benefits all of society? Coming up in the next article, we'll explore why capitalism's greatest strength, its relentless drive to replace the old with the new, may actually be its deepest virtue. Jump in the water. It's fine. See ya.